exiled kid.
Or maybe even treat him badly, like a lesser servant, given the shame he carried.
Exactly. Why would Mr. Perfect want to hang out with a social failure? But this is where Achilles does something different.
It's the first big sign of his unique character, right? He operates outside the normal rules.
Definitely. And here's the pivot point in the story, the thing that signals how extraordinary their connection is going to be.
Achilles makes this surprising choice. Almost countercultural, you could say.
He doesn't just accept Patroclus, he elevates him. He specifically chooses Patroclus as his closest constant companion. Thereupon is a word sometimes used.
His attendant, his companion, distinguishing him above everyone else in his group.
Yeah. So what do the sources suggest about Achilles here? Why does he defy these social norms so early on?
Good question. What allowed him to do that?
Well, the foundational texts, like Homer, they seem to suggest a kind of deep discernment in Achilles. He wasn't just looking at the surface.
He wasn't swayed by status or the usual definition of heroism.
It seems not. It's like he saw something in Patroclus, maybe an innate goodness or loyalty that went beyond the politics of the court.
And what's fascinating is that Achilles' choice, just by making it, it instantly validates Patroclus, doesn't it?
It completely does. It's like it washes away the stain of his exile just because the most celebrated kid in Greece decided he was worthy.
So this quiet start, this early friendship or acceptance in Phthia, where Achilles chose empathy over convention.
That's the seed, the absolute foundation for everything that follows, including the tragedy. It wasn't built on, say, shared ambition for war,
but on shared life. And this surprising moment of recognizing value where others saw none.
And that foundation, laid down back in Phthia, it didn't take long to deepen into something, well, much more intimate.
Patroclus becomes Achilles' closest heteros. That word means companion, comrade, right?
Yeah.
But it feels deeper here.
It does. They were basically inseparable, training together, eating together, sharing their living quarters, their lives just completely meshed.
Which sets the stage for how later sources interpreted their bond intensely personal, exclusive.
And this takes us straight into one of the big debates, doesn't it? The nature of that love.
Yeah. How do we define it?
Homer, our earliest main source, mostly uses the word philia, which signifies, deep friendship, loyalty, maybe brotherly love.
Okay, philia. But the sheer intensity we see later, especially in the Greek.
Exactly. That intensity pushed later Greeks almost immediately to interpret it as eros, romantic, passionate love.
Right, the lines get blurred. It goes way beyond a typical warrior and his squire or second in command.
Later classical writers, people like Plato in his Symposium, they were pretty explicit about it. They saw them as lovers and held them up as an ideal of devotion.
So the argument for eros really hinges on Achilles' reaction later on.
Almost entirely. We'll definitely get into that reaction in detail, but yeah, it just massively exceeds the grief you'd expect for a battle buddy or even a brother.
It sounds like the devastation of someone who lost their entire reason for living.
That's a good way to put it. And this intimacy, this deep bond, it was really solidified during a pretty remarkable period away from all the court drama.
A sort of sanctuary time, which seems kind of poetic, given what happens later.
It does. They were sent off to train with Chiron,
the wise centaur.
Oh.
And this wasn't like, Spartan boot camp, right?
Not at all. The sources describe it as this broad, expansive education, far away from the toxic politics and the looming shadow of war.
It sounds crucial, especially for Patroclus.
Yeah.
Getting away from that pressure to be the warrior he wasn't.
Definitely. They lived freely there. They learned about the holistic idea of arty excellence.
Yeah.
But the curriculum wasn't just physical.
What else did they learn?
Music. Achilles apparently loved the lyre. They learned medicine. They learned the arts of peace, contemplation.
Okay, the irony there is just, the greatest warrior the world would ever see, the man fated to be defined by bloodshed.
Spending his formative years learning the lyre and how to heal people.
All shared with the man who would become his moral compass, in a way. This really was their free, unburdened time together, wasn't it?
It was their bubble. And if you look at it with an eye for foreshadowing, Patroclus' later role gets cemented right here.
How so?
While Achilles is honing his combat skills, Patroclus is mastering